Welcome to the Inspired Action Podcast. This is where we have motivational, inspiring conversations and interviews that we hope you will enjoy listening to. If you're interested in creating more balance in your life, understanding your 5-element energetic nature, finding the path of greatest ease,
or releasing the baggage of this lifetime and discovering ancient alchemy that can help you fly in your life, join us and other inspired actioneers on this alchemical transformational journey. Welcome back to the Inspired Action Podcast. My name is Lita Herman, and I'm here with my co-host and officially our special guest today for our 12th episode, and it's Jay McElroy. Hi, Jay.
Hi, Lita.
So should we tell our listeners why you are a special guest for today's conversation?
I always like to think I'm special.
That's true, you are.
But for today, I'm not sure I want them to know. I like to fly elementally under the radar. I don't usually tell people what element I am, although a lot of people obviously guess. But for today, I am the would-be host.
The would-be host.
For the Wood Show of the 5 elements.
Yes, today is a tricky day for Jay. She loves to share all she knows with all our listeners, but some stuff is a bit too close to home. And today we're going to be talking about the wood element, and Jay is wood, and there, you're outed.
Yes, I know. I'm in the tough position because if I tell everyone all the secrets about wood, they might come and take my wood card away.
Well, I didn't know there was a wood card, but definitely there probably is.
We don't tell everyone about it because it's private.
It's like having a platinum Amex card. You know, only the wood people have them.
Well, that's probably true too. That's beside the point. Okay, so I'm going to start off with, so here's my analogy of wood. So how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would?
Oh my God, I don't know. How much?
How much what?
How much wood?
How much wood what? Oh,
how much wood would a woodchuck? If a woodchuck could.
See, I knew you couldn't do that. So how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would? Right?
Right.
Okay, none of it. Because the woodchuck would hire all his friends and the other woodchucks to chuck wood for them. They would delegate. They would be a really good boss. Everyone would have fun. All the woodchucks would chuck wood all day long. Everyone would be happy. It would be a good old woodchucking party. So that's how much wood a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck would.
That's perfect. That's perfect because that's what we're going to be talking about today. The wood way.
I've been practicing that all day.
You did good. You did good. I failed.
Well, I know for me, when we talk about wood, you know, we basically talk a lot about the funnier kind of quirky things about all the elements, and we're going to start with wood. So why don't we just go a little bit? I'll let you start. And we're just going to kind of see how it goes. We really don't have a script for this, so we're just going to go with flow.
Well, let's start by talking about that privacy. You said you like to fly under the radar. And, you know, a lot of fire people out there like to expose and dispose of their deep, dark secrets. And, you know, they'll do it like in the first 5 minutes of meeting someone.
Yeah, that always kind of freaks me out a little bit. They're like telling me all these things and I'm like, whoa, we just met like 10 minutes. I already know everything about them.
But why are you even thinking about your privacy? Like, what is it about? Like, I know a few wood people, you know, let's just say they are, for the most part, very private people. And I should preface it to say that wood people are, you know, quiet people. They're out in the world and they're big movers and shakers. So you might not think of them as private, but here's the big but. They don't always let you into their inner world like a fire person does, blah, 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 tell you everything. So why is it that?
Well, see, like right off the bat, you're asking for private information.
You know, I go right for it.
That's right there. Like, why? I guess it's on a need to know basis for a wood person. Well, you helped me realize, Lita, that my need for privacy was really the wood way. And that we are very strategic and we like to be considered, you know, something like in the Chinese perspective, the general of the armed forces, you know, in Chinese medicine, Chinese philosophy, which means we're constantly thinking about future scenarios and where we might be compromised. So we don't risk telling anyone too much information so they can be used against us later on. It's a strategic move, I think. And we like knowing that we have some protection.
I get it. That's interesting. So it's like you're always planning ahead and you don't want this compromising information to come back and bite you in the
beep. Yes. Well, we don't like surprises. I don't like surprises. It's kind of actually hard to surprise me, because we're kind of a little vigilant on a lot of different things. And we definitely don't like the surprises that come back and bite you in the beep. Okay. So that's really a little bit about, I don't think I'm like freaky, not private. I just don't offer up things that don't need to be talked about.
It's selective.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. Well, before we go further, we should remind people that, this whole 5-element topic we're about to launch into again. And if you haven't already, I'd like you to go back and listen to episode 2, where we just give you a general overview of the 5 elements. And in that episode's show notes, we have a free book that we wrote called Connecting Your Circle that you can download, and you can just read up on the 5 elements.
It's like a primer. It's a short read, but it gives you some basic understanding of all the elements, because the 5 elements, everyone has their own stack up. So everyone has 5 in whatever order. Everyone's a little bit different. That's what makes us all unique and kind of fun. So if you go to our show notes on inspiredactionpodcast.com, episode 2002 for pod 2, you will find them in there. So you can get that in the Connecting Your Circle for free.
Okay. All right. So let's go a little deeper into wood.
Deeper in the woods? Deeper in the woods.
Deeper in the woods. Don't get lost. All right. So we're going to go a little deeper into wood. And Jay, feel free to jump in anytime.
I will. I always do.
Yes, that's true. And the wood element, so just to start from scratch, is associated with spring. So that means it's really about newness, and everything needs to feel like it's new, like the dawning of a new day. And because wood people love starting new projects, they need to constantly be involved in something new. And the better word is really, I like to call it engaged.
Yes.
They love to be engaged in stuff.
Engaged in the world.
Yeah.
And those around them. They like the people around them to be engaged as well. And, I've been known to become a little bored. I don't really like to use that word too much, but if I don't have a new project, or maybe 2 or 3 new projects in the works, I can get a little distracted. And that usually means boredom. So I like to have a fun project. I really like to tackle everything about it. I like to do a lot of research. I like to learn everything about it, become like a little mini expert super fast. I don't mind doing the research on things. I really want to have the knowledge to be able to give me the best possible results. I love the deep dive. I love to learn as much as possible. And again, I like to learn it fast, super fast.
I mean, I love when you decided that we're going to do a podcast, you researched the heck out of it. And it was like within weeks, you knew
took
everything.
Classes, I read books, I talked to a lot of people. I was like getting right to it. Like, let's not kid around. Let's just let's get the best equipment. Again, with the best.
Yes.
We like to just find out all the best information available. And
yes. And you're already helping one of our friends to launch her podcast because she doesn't know. And
yes, I will. I'm certain I will help many people with their podcasts. I kind of weeded through the crappy knowledge to get to the most efficient knowledge.
And so would you say you are results oriented?
Yeah. Hello. What's the point if you're not going to produce some results? Actually, what's the point if it's not challenging at all? I mean, for me, it's about some goals. And let me ask you this, Lita, who I pointed out earlier in one of our pods, you're not goal orientated. I can't say that word. Goal orientated, so to speak. So how do you get to the top of a mountain? And don't say helicopter.
You have to climb.
You climb, you sweat. For wood people, you work your way up to the most effective. You get there, up, 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 up. You don't just wake up and you're on top of the mountain. What's the challenge in that?
Well, I've climbed mountains with you and it's really fun.
Yes, it's fun. It's engaging. I can stop and smell the roses, but only if they're on the way.
Yes, only if they're on the way.
Because why? You don't want to deviate. I mean, maybe you would deviate.
No
but
detours.
No, just go to the top on the way. So, of course, would have planned out the best way. You would have planned the best route. You probably would have got the best guide.
Done the research.
You had the best gear.
The best gear.
It's all
absolutely.
about the gear. I wouldn't go if it wasn't about the gear.
It's all about the gear.
I would. Okay, so
if a wood person is going to do something in life and they want to do something challenging, if everything is easy, then why do it?
Yeah. What's the point? I mean,
So that's why wood people excel in athletics, perhaps.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that's definitely, they probably excel in anything that they want to excel at, but athletics for sure.
Well, I guess it's the nature of athletes being, pushing the envelope, always taking on a challenge that's never been done before, but, more of the physical nature.
Sure. And we're going to talk a little bit later because wood people make really good coaches. So there's a lot of professional coaches that are wood that we'll talk about.
Some of the best coaches.
For me, I'm constantly making little challenges in my life. I always like to use the example of playing ping pong with my friends. I don't play a lot, but every once in a while I would play, or someone would get into it and I would play. And it's kind of boring for me. I kind of am good at it. So I would just play with my opposite hand.
Oh, that'll work.
And I would just go back and forth. And most people don't even notice. So I would play with my left hand. I would play with my right hand. It kept me challenged. It kept me engaged.
Kept you on your toes.
Kept me on my toes. It's not fun to trounce someone when, in anything. I love fairness. I love good sportsmanship. I like being, I like to win, but it's not always about the winning.
And that's a perfect example of how wood people see the world. It's like wood people have a natural advantage over the majority of the rest of the world in many things, physical and also, in their quick wit and smarts. And whether it's the ability to outwit others or the ability to make fast, accurate decisions or just the physical prowess, the rest of the world seems like it's moving in slow motion.
Yeah. And, everyone's waiting for everyone to catch up. See, I was waiting for you to finish that sentence.
You finished my sentence.
I knew what you were going to say. So, and I wanted to mention, we also, before we go any further, we don't really like to lose, but, it doesn't happen often, but it happens. So if I'm playing ping pong or any sport with someone and they're really good, then believe me, I will kick into overdrive and just play my best, and it'll be a nice, fair match, and it'll be, all those good things. So I just do those kind of things to be engaged, to keep it interesting for me.
My son had a wood friend growing up, and there was this one soccer game actually that I was coaching, and the kid was unhappy because we were winning so much that the other team was like 14-0, which is really,
it's not fun for a wood person.
It's not fun. Yeah. And he was getting all the goals because he always got all the goals. But eventually he started having fun because he set the ball up for all the kids who'd never gotten a goal.
That's awesome.
And then suddenly there was something of value of this game. And
sure.
Yeah. And I think it was a great way to.
Yeah. No one likes to trounce somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the fun and what's the challenge? What's the goal? I mean, if you already know you're going to win, you might as well make it fun for everyone. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So being wood is really about also being a mover and shaker in the world. And so what do you think about that?
Also on the sports as well as the mover and shaker in the business world, or any kind of business or whatever you do for your work. You need to understand people. You need to kind of love people on many levels. It's not that I'm a people pleaser. That's a different element, which we'll get to later.
We'll get to that later.
Hint, hint, fire. That could be next. So, but it's more about understanding what makes people happy. I love to make people happy. I love to motivate people. And again, that's a wood thing.
So we've also got a bunch of different ways to identify wood people in the world, because you're probably now starting to wonder, who do I know who's wood? If you're not wood, yourself, hopefully you'll know that by now. Yeah,
and I'll say that before we go to the identifying things. A lot of people, wood sometimes gets a bad rap. I mean, all the elements get a bad and a good, but I think that when wood is out of tilt, it's really out of tilt, and wood can be a little bit mean. Not like fire mean, which we're going to talk about, but
they're never mean.
Disgruntled, maybe?
Yeah. Frustrated.
That's probably the word.
When they're frustrated, nobody around them is having any fun.
Yeah. So, all right. So we'll get into that again too, but that's important to remember when you're starting to identify people who's frustrated and maybe thinking lashing out, angry, or short with you, or abrupt, but that's only when they're in their not so happy place. Most woods love to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
And they love to make and help people realize their happiness.
Yeah, they're very good at encouraging others to do well as they do well.
Yeah.
So let's start with, how do you identify wood people in the world? So the easiest way is to watch them walk.
Okay, so I've been told I walk like a happy penguin.
That's great.
I do. I mean, especially, if I'm in a hurry, I definitely do this penguin marching happy thing.
Yeah, it's like a military march. And the easiest indicator is if you look at their elbows, they actually come out out from the sides of their body, they're very angular, and they puff their chests out. It is just like a penguin now that I think of it. Their diaphragm comes out and their legs almost stomp. It's like their knees don't bend.
Yeah. So if you ever see that video of like a scary military operation and they're all marching in style, their parade style, that's a wood person in a hurry, and it's also about a direct path. They know where they're going. They want to go somewhere directly.
Yeah. They don't meander and stop here, smell the flowers, stop there.
If you ask a wood person how they got there today, they're going to say car, walk, bike. They're going to say those kind of answers. If you ask a fire person, let's just for an example, say Lita. I'm not saying that she's fire, but let's ask Lita how she got to the office today. She will give you 5 minutes.
I had a lovely walk with my dog, and I went on this path with all these beautiful flowers, and we stopped to talk to another dog's owner. Yeah.
And then I wonder, and I'm like, you're 15 minutes late, right? And she's like, oops.
Oopsie.
That's the difference between, wood people are more direct on their path, and maybe other elements cannot be.
And the other thing you can look at is their eyes. So every element has a different way their eyes look, and the wood eyes are very distinctive. They're this boring into your soul eyes.
They're like intense.
They're intense. And it's not that they're unhappy or mean, but they don't have the smiling eyes
or the twinkling.
Yeah, or the twinkling eyes, and they're not going to look away. They're just going to look direct.
Yeah, no bullshit. They are like, oh, can I say that?
Yeah.
They're like, they detect it. They don't like it. They can see it. And you have to, when you're engaged with a wood person, you need to be authentic. You need to be the real deal. You need to be present and engaged, or they'll be gone.
Right. And their voice, how they talk, is another indicator. And this is where, you need to not also be too emotional about what they're saying, because they're going to be very frank. And so the words are a little bit commanding, and they have very short bulleted words like, they're going to talk like this.
I do not talk like that.
And they're also going to have a lot of consonants pop out of their mouth. So you hear k, t, p. They just really accentuate those, hard consonants.
And I do think some wood people talk really fast and they mangle their words.
Yes.
So we're talking about the words. I know there's a couple podcasters that I follow, and I'm going to lead it. I think this person's wood, and we'll listen to them, and boy, they just mangle the same words that I mangle. So now you know why I mangle my words.
It's like they're tripping up all over their own words because they're talking.
They're trying to talk, but they're talking too slow, and their brain is already ahead, and they're trying to get. So it's complicated. See, I'm giving away wood secrets.
More wood secrets. So wood minds think so fast. I always say the synapses in their brains are firing faster than all the other elements. And so they literally are thinking faster than they can talk.
Yeah. Now looking back into my life in school, I was like I could almost think I knew what the teacher was going to say before they even finished it. I knew all the answers. I was the one who had the hand up every single time.
Yes.
But it wasn't because I was, bragging or anything like that. It's just that I was engaged. I was like, let's do this. Let's go. I'm ready. I know.
And what's the worst thing for a wood child is to feel not engaged.
Yeah.
Looking out the window, causing trouble, fidgeting. That would be
and if they're bored, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
And so the last thing is just, thinking about whether you're wood or someone else's wood. What does wood want? And I would say here you got to think the bigger, the better. And so they're really dreaming big. They're thinking big. So that's just something to think about in terms of how they look at the world.
I always think that wood has the big vision, holds the big vision of a project or a plan or even of a family, like a trip or whatever. They hold the big vision. They know the bigger picture. They may, when I was joking about the woodchuck joke, now I can't say woodchuck, right? So they're joking about the woodchuck joke, how we delegate and how they have other people help them carry out these visions.
Yes.
So, a bossy wood person, wood is the boss, the bossy wood, it kind of goes. Yes. There's a lot of bosses in the world that are wood for sure.
Well, it's like Tina Fey's book. What was
Bossy Pants.
Bossy Pants. Yes. Yeah. She was kind of like complaining, but also happy that she's that person. Because,
so Tina Fey is wood. We have a whole list of wood people that will say, which are also in the Connecting Your Circle book and also in the Energy of Love book, our other book on the 5 elements. We also list out a lot of wood people, and we might do a few today.
And then just to talk about like what would people want? They also really want acknowledgement. They don't need like a big, award or something like that, like a high five, a thumbs up, even a big smooch will do. But these are the gestures that say, yes, I'm watching you. You're awesome. Keep going. And that's the best reward for a job well done. And it's really what wood lives for.
Yeah. When I'm working with people and we're talking about the 5 elements and the wood is an issue either for them or for their partner or their children, I always... this is a big secret too. I'm not going to say it. But if you can see the greatness in them, with those small gestures that Lita just mentioned, that's really about getting wood. Yeah. That's about understanding wood, and not in a like you're the greatest, I worship you way. But you know what? I see that you're engaged. I see that you're on the ball. You're really trying for the team. It's a team thing. Like that is a good way to get into the wood mind.
And I always like to say, like, if you have a wood kid who's running with scissors and you yell at them, stop running with scissors, like they're never going to react well to that. But if you say, oh my God, I love what you're doing so fantastic. I love this thing that you just made.
Why don't we put the scissors this way and then go ahead?
Next time. Yes, exactly. Yeah. See, and there's no blame there. They're not shamed for it. And they're still rewarded for what they've done.
Yeah, that's a nice, you can go on and look at different, ways to communicate with all of the children that are different elements. So that's another way to want to understand the 5 elements, because if you do have children, that's a nice way to connect with them without giving them things to fix later on in therapy.
Yeah, we could
20 years down the road.
We could actually do a podcast later, 20 years down the road.
Did you fix it in therapy?
Yes, fix it in therapy.
My mother yelled at me for running with scissors the wrong way. And
that's it. I'm done. Yeah. Well, they want a cheering section. Yes. They want their cheerleaders.
So if you don't have wood parents, how are they going to get it? That's why coaches and athlete, I'm getting this as we speak. So coaches in athletics is very good for wood because they get the recognition. Cheering. They get the coach. They get someone who gets them. Their motivator. Team gets them. Their coach gets them. Okay. And I think once you understand wood, you'll see the wood coaches and you see the coaches that are not wood and how they move their teams through the athletics.
Right. So let's just review. So how do you identify a wood person in the world?
So, the way they hold themselves, their confidence, their assertiveness, their conversation starting. We didn't talk about how they usually have an item or a hairstyle or clothing item that's kind of, a conversation starter.
Yeah. And some people think they're a little cocky because they are bold like that. They'll like wear something that's just a little bit out there, like Lady Gaga's, meat dress. The
meat suit. Yeah, the meat dress. Yes, the meat dress. That got a lot of attention.
And is that crazy. Arrogance, or is that her just trying to evoke, it's almost like wood is tapping on us all the time saying, are you breathing? Are you awake?
Are you awake? Is anyone out there? Is this thing on?
Is this thing on?
I could tell your heart's beating, but are you awake? Yes.
So a lot of it is like leadership, being big and out there in the world. And, some of the people.
It's not arrogance.
No, it's not. But some of the people, you may think that, but that's not really what it's about. Like Hillary Clinton.
Let's list a couple of people out that are in the world right now. So you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say Oprah, Hillary. In the business world, Steve Jobs was wood, Warren Buffett, Tony Robbins. A lot of people probably listening to this podcast.
Let's do some Hollywood people.
Yeah. Oh, Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Tom Cruise, Ryan Gosling.
Bruce Willis. Okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Robert Downey Jr. Hello, is that like all the big action figures?
Big action figures. And then in news, there's a lot right now, Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert.
Okay, so they're not really news. They're more like comedy.
Oh,
how about Rachel Maddow?
Oh, Rachel Maddow.
She's wood for sure.
Definitely.
Will Ferrell, yes. Ellen DeGeneres, Madonna, Lady Gaga, Pink, Tina Fey.
Yeah.
That's a lot of really powerful people out in the world. They're all wood first.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to mention, because I kind of feel like there's a little black mark on the wood Hall of Fame there. Well, it's our current president.
We're not going to.
That's all I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say a name. Okay, I'm just going to say that is.
So it's about thinking outside the box too.
Yeah, we'll create a whole new box if we have to.
Yeah, and it's creativity in a way it's about reshaping and reframing. Also, it's not just a solitary thing, and that's why the coaching works so well. It's about a team. And wood people love to have people on their team.
And we love to have the A game out there. Show up, and I'll do the thing from Belichick. Do your job.
Yeah.
That's his thing. Do your job.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, do your job. I'm here doing my job. This guy's doing his job. Do your job. That's the way to show up. Do the A game and do your job. So it's strategy and it's motivating and it's outthink, outwit, outmaneuver anyone and everyone. But for me, it's in a nice way. It is definitely not a seek and destroy mentally. And it's not by any means necessary. It doesn't mean that at all. For me, I think wood people are very civilized. We're polite. We're nice.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I think people get confused. They think that because wood is quote unquote competitive, which is a weird, it has a negative connotation.
Seek and destroy might happen, but it was going to be a friendly seek and destroy. It's going to be a friendly win. It's going to be a high five. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be, we're a little bit of a stickler for the rules.
Yes.
It's ethically, it's a good
I like to say that wood people love when the game is really matched and they're just a little bit better.
A little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker.
Against a really good opponent.
Yes, they love good competition. It's likable and friendly. Just think of it, if you're a wood person and you're doing all these things and no one likes you.
Yeah.
Or you don't like people. You have to it has to be a two-way street, or it's just probably not a lot of fun to be around them. So, and they're out there. Everyone's out there. Every element has their good and their bad. But I think a wood person in their authentic, good self is a nice, happy, general motivator of people.
And a lot of these wood people are leaders and they got to the top, but how do they do that? They needed help. So they had to have their team and
good delegators. Right? So they get good. I always think wood people attract the best people around them. They have really good friends. They have really good employees. If they have a business, they have good partners. They have good children. They surround
all
themselves.
their woodchucks.
They have all their woodchucks ready to chuck the woodchuck. Now I can't say it. So they have all their woodchucks around. Yes. Doing the stuff and they make it fun. They make it fun.
And how is it that even when you've officially lost, the wood person, the wood coach makes it seem like a win? You turn it around.
You have to look at it and you have to kind of analyze it a little bit and see where, there are some days when you're going to play your best and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Lose.
And someone maybe outplayed you, outcoached you, outdid whatever, or they're just luck. Maybe it was even and the luck went to them. You just never know. Hopefully you have that. If they're going to flip a coin on luck, you want it to land on your side for sure.
But what I see is even then the wood person will come out saying that they won in a different way.
Yes. I think that, if you did your best, or at least for me personally, if I do my best and I lose, it's okay. It's okay. Because I know, next time it might be different, or overall I'm a, pretty positive person. So I like to win, but I don't like to win and make it a bad experience. Otherwise, why I wouldn't do that as well. But I like to be competitive on the inside as well.
And would you say that you're a coach because, it can get lonely at the top? And if you can get some other people to do well, you're not the only one at the top?
Well, that's a funny point. But, I think that I see people get put their dreams off or put their ambitions off or their goals off for reasons that are so easy for them to shift. That everyone has wood in them. Okay. Some people have it top, first, second, third, fourth, and some people have it last. I won't say who, but some people have it last, but they can enhance their wood. They can bring out the qualities. They can kind of ignore the negative of the wood.
That's a really good point because wood is not top in my list. And I've been coached by Jay and I think I've developed some wood skills.
I definitely think that you start to believe in yourself more and they become awake in you now. And then I always like to say, you pull it out when you need it.
It's almost like if you right now, if you're not a wood person, if you right now stood up and you just put some energy into your diaphragm and stuck your chest out a little bit, you would actually feel different. You would feel a little bit more sure of yourself.
Stand tall.
It forces you to stand tall. It puts your arms out a little bit. That's why the elbows come out. And if you actually stand that stance, also you can notice the people around you treat you differently.
Yeah. And I think that, you don't have to go through the world like that all the time. So you stand up for yourself. You stand up for the little guy. You stand up for someone who needs a little bit of help. That's a good aspect of wood.
We forgot about the little guy. Okay. So one of the major wood things is that they really hate injustice, especially against people who can't defend themselves.
Children and animals as well.
Yeah. And so
really injustice that really gets to us.
Yeah. And you don't often see wood people cry a lot, but boy, you put a little puppy somewhere who needs help and they'll be like full of, any of those rescue animal commercials, you'd be sobbing, right?
That's Sarah McLachlan. No, I mean, it's definitely a soft point for us. And we love to be advocates for animals, children, the little guy. Yeah. Anyone who needs someone to stand up, anyone who can't puff out their chest or stand up and say, hey, that's not right. That's what wood people like to do.
Are you like, you once told me that you always pick the kid who was usually picked last on the team.
Yes, that kind of goes with your soccer story as well. I mean, maybe not first, but I would try not to.
That wouldn't be very strategic.
No, but I would definitely make them feel special and pick them before everyone. I've done it many times when I was younger, and not because I was looking for me, but I wanted them to feel special.
You wanted them to hold their head high.
Yes, and be part of the team and awake and be alive and know that they're valued.
So let's go back to boredom. So tell me a little bit about why would people hate waiting in lines, for example?
Well, you have to go back to time efficient. So if you're trying to get things done the most efficient way, the quickest way, standing in line, oh my gosh.
Get someone else to stand in line for you.
You have this funny thing you always say, tell them about the cable guy.
Oh my God, I heard about this guy who went to the cable company and the line was like way out the door around the block. And he went and paid someone in the front of the cable line to let him cut in line.
$20.
20. No, first he offered 20 and she said no. And then he offered her 50 and she said yes.
Oh yeah. See, it's really great.
But that's how bad he didn't want to wait.
And I do not see the problem with that.
And she went to the back of the line for the $50.
Yeah. So take his spot. She goes in the back. You know what? It's time management. We've talked about time. I'm a stickler for time management. I'm not perfect at it, but if I value time and it's either an hour standing in line or an hour of me going back to doing what I was doing, I will pay that person every time if I could. I mean, different things for different values.
Yeah, I guess for you, that's where the value is.
I think that's super cool. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? But no, I can definitely, remember the most efficient way, the quickest way, in a nice way. I try not to be a jerk about anything.
And that's what kind of overcoming a struggle. But let's talk a little bit more about struggles. I mean, first of all, I think wood people require a lot of maintenance.
Yes, I think so too.
And
because we're rubbing at such a high pace.
Yeah. And I think food is a big thing. They need to pay attention to getting fed.
Yeah. And healthy food. I personally like to eat in a lot of organic and close to the source and local.
Well, that's also because, as you may recall, if you listen to, I think, episode 4, we talked about the 9 palaces, and health is one of the palaces of wood. So exercise, food, sleep, all these things that create good health, they're so important to wood people.
Yeah, before I became really aware of this, I knew that it was important, but I didn't know why. And now that I understand it so much better, if I am not exercising or moving my body, other things start to shut down. It's like you have to keep things moving. You have to keep things moving. You have to keep things going in the right direction. So for me personally, eating good, drinking water, sleeping, exercising, I try to exercise almost every day.
But I do like to think of it as you're kind of like a race car, not a
Ferrari. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, let's not go down the low end. Let's go right to a Ferrari or something high end, Lamborghini. I don't know.
It can run really fast.
Super high Porsche.
Are you done?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
It can run really great.
Those are cars, by the way. I'm not sure you know what those are.
Oh, okay.
You went to Toyota.
Yeah, no. Toyota Tercel. No. A race car requires a lot of maintenance. So, if you want to be running at such a high level of ability, which is what wood people want, they have to pay attention to the vehicle.
Yeah. Take care of the health. And the other palace for wood is wealth.
Yeah.
So take care of your wealth as well. And
that's almost innate. I've never met a wood person who doesn't take care of their wealth.
Yeah. So, if you're wood and you're listening, keep your health and your wealth going in the right, look at those, they're going in the right way there.
Now, some of the time, keeping your health and your wealth going leaves a few of the other houses neglected. For example, relationships sometimes are a struggle. You often see that they can be quite stubborn or sometimes even rigid.
What? No, yes, I know. And also, I think for wood people, when they get stubborn, rigid, they'll lose their sense of humor.
Which is the worst. Yeah. If a wood person's lost their sense of humor, it's like it's bad for
and
everyone.
It means they're frustrated. It means things aren't going the way they want them to go. They might have given up. They might have a big block. You'd have to look at that.
And actually, before we go on with the difficulties, but let's go back to humor, because we forgot to talk about the wit, the wood wit.
Well, I think if anyone's listening to the show, hopefully I've made them chuckle once or twice.
Yes. So,
and you're funny.
Well, how do they how do they do it?
See, there was the wood wit.
Ish. How do they do it? How do they make it so funny? So when I say a word that has a double entendre or some other meaning, they immediately twist it around and they come up with another way to look at it. It's almost like they quickly spin something around and look at it, in 180 degrees backwards.
Yeah, they're also the spin doctors too.
They are the spin doctors.
Yeah.
That's right. And so it's this amazing ability. It takes another person, not a wood person, but it takes another person off guard. They don't know what to say.
It forces them to think in a different way, or laugh, or lots of times I'll have people say, man, you made the funniest joke and it took me like 3 minutes to figure out, boy, did I laugh, or 30 seconds or whatever. I've seen people that said, you know what, you made me laugh so hard, but I didn't laugh when you said it. And boy, it was so funny afterwards.
Because they're like, they can't even, their minds don't work like that. No. I don't know. It's like the wood mind is so fluid. It can just like play with these things, these words and these phrases. And
remember, everyone has wood in them. So if you're, a little slow, you can work on it.
Well, that's why you're always trying to see too. The part of the wit is like, how quick is this person? It's almost like a test. Like when you first meet someone, you might tell a witty joke.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any more secrets away on that, on how I figure out what element people are.
We all need to know.
So, I always think who do you want to help solve a problem? What is the best way to solve a problem? Wood is very good at figuring out what's the best way to resolve issues. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And they do it quickly. There is another element that does that as well, very slowly. The earth element. Are problem solvers, but they're the big analysis, like slow. Let's take 5 days to discover what the issues are.
Really? The wood person comes to the same conclusion that the wood person did in like 30 seconds. So for a wood person, 30 seconds to make a decision who is probably 99% accurate, or an earth person who takes a whole week and comes back and either doesn't come close to that 1% or it gives you the same exact answer.
Okay, so you just invalidated all the earth people out there.
No. Actually, wood and earth people together get a lot of things done. The wood is the delegator and the earth is they follow through and finish things. It's a very powerful combination when it's done respectfully and nice.
Yeah, it is.
I love my earth people. Please don't say that.
So if you're having a bad day, you've lost your sense of humor, what about the people around you? Like, how are they going to be able to work with a wood person who's really unhappy?
Well, you have to, it's frustration. What's frustrating them? Why are they not in their element? Why are they not being themselves? That's what you'd have to look at. Where are they being tripped up? What's blocking them?
Yeah.
And then strategy. So what you have to, tap into your wood. What's the strategy of helping them get back on track?
And also just asking them what do they think needs to be done, as opposed to you trying to tell them what to do.
Go back to that earth thing for 1 second. A lot of times I'll be like, I'm trying to process things, trying to figure things out. And I am a very open communicator. So I usually ask everyone, what do you think? What do you think? And I'll listen to it. And now that does not mean I'm asking every single person's opinion. If I value you as a part of the team, I will ask you. It doesn't mean I'm going to do that, but I take that into consideration. I process that information, and there might be that little piece that I've missed. And that will definitely help make a project move along and move in a better direction.
Yeah. And so when you're really struggling, if someone did that for you, that would be
so it doesn't mean I always think that, some people think woods are know-it-alls or they have all the answers. That's definitely not completely true.
Just partially true.
It's 99% true. No, but it's that if they're frustrated and they're off, it could be they're not seeing something.
So I used to say, like, if you're walking down a road and suddenly there's a brick wall in front of you and you're wood, would you turn around? No, you would
go over it, around it, under it.
You would find a way. And if you had to, as a last resort, you blow it up. But honestly, that would be a very last resort. But
so that goes back to the general, the strategist.
Yeah.
I remember we had this conversation about the wood generals, and the last thing they do would go to war.
Yes. Okay. The art of war is actually the art of peace.
So they would do every option that they could before they would go to war. Most people don't get that, but that's what that is about.
And that's one of your favorite books, right?
Totally. I read it when I was very young. And then I had to when I was younger, I read it and I didn't quite get all of it. And then I read it again later. And every time you read it as you mature, it's a good way to really get it even more, understand it even more.
And a lot of my wood clients over the years have told me that that's one of their favorite books. So it's definitely.
I also, another book that I love is The Alchemist.
Yes.
That's this whole going around the world, but then you realize, I don't know if anyone hasn't read the book, I'm going to do the spoiler, but it's right in front of you. It's right there. What you need to know, what you do is right there.
Yes. Yeah. So that leads into the evolution of wood.
And I'll put those 2 books in the show notes for anyone who hasn't really read them.
So let's go to the evolution of wood. It's like they're helping everyone else see how great they are, but they want to see their own greatness and they want to be engaged with themselves on a high spiritual level. So when wood isn't looking externally for stimulation or challenges, they can begin to search for their inner peace. And that's kind of like an older wood person. A younger person's really going to fight battles and be out on the battlefield every day. And as you get older, you sort of reflect on the past and you get into this higher state of mind where you don't need a lot of accolades.
I think personally, that's definitely something for me. I don't need that anymore. And I always say I don't have an ego anymore. Like that's gone. That is gone. But when I was younger, I think that the external rewards and goals were far more important than the internal. And now it's completely the opposite.
And it's almost like the ultimate evolution for a wood person is to find peace.
Yeah, you save the best for last.
Yeah.
You don't think that when you're 20 and you're, rocking it, or when you're 30 or 40 or, like whatever the age is. But that's the best. We talk about this all the time, the self-cultivation, the quiet space, the stillness in your heart. All those things are what comes after the battle.
So what most people don't realize, because wood people are so much out on the front lines, is that wood is really spiritual.
Yeah. And that's a great place to end it right now. So end it on that spiritual, peaceful note. We just want to get a little bit of an insight into wood, and we hope that's helped. And if you have any questions, jump in on the Facebook group, or you can always just send us a thing to inspiredactionpodcast.com, an email or anything.
And if you are wood, I just want to say, keep marching forward. Be the great leader that you are. Don't worry. We see you, even if you feel you're not being seen.
And thank you for being on our Inspired Action team. Virtual high five.
Virtual high five. Boom.
Go out and have some fun. Thank you. You've been listening to the Inspired Action Podcast. You can follow our Inspired Actions on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you have already, thank you so much. We read all reviews and really appreciate your input. Join us next week for another Inspired Action conversation. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hug the dog.